where I come from in Coventry, in 1519, so just over 500 years ago, there was a group of 6 men and 1 woman who were martyred for their faith. The woman we know as Mrs. Smith, and she and these 6 men came under suspicion because at that time England was under the power of the papacy. And one of the things that the popes of Rome really didn't want to happen was people reading the Bible in their own language. Now Mrs. Smith and these men were teaching their children the Lord's Prayer, the Apostles' Creed and the 10 Commandments in English. And as the adults were arrested, the children were taken to a monastery and interrogated by a man called Stafford, who was one of the friars there. And he told the children that they were to forget what they'd learned in English, and that if they continued in those things that their parents and the adults had taught them, that the children would be burned, as the parents would be. Now the men were all condemned to death by burning. But Mrs. Smith was initially spared. But then as she was being escorted home by the bishop's sumner, that was a bit like the bishop's arresting officer, she was being led home by that man, and he felt in her sleeve a bit of paper. And so he said, "What do we have here?" And he caused her to unroll the sleeve, and he found those offending articles in English: the Lord's Prayer, the 10 Commandments, and the Apostles' Creed. And then she was shown no mercy. And despite the fact that she was a widow and the only one who cared for the children in her household, on the 4th of April 1519, she, along with the men, was burned at the stake.